And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Life from the Inside Out with Kris. I'm one of your hosts, Dan Winkle, and I'm here with Serge Grandbois, our channeler and wonderful partner on this show. I'm glad you're here with us. We're going to be getting into some deep trance channeling in just a few moments. And if you're new here, we're going to be getting just into it. And I'm glad you're here with us. So yeah, stick around. We're going to be getting a big dose of wisdom and all kinds of great metaphysical information. So yeah, I'm glad you're here. And Serge is with us. And we had a great episode last time. We're talking about passions and really getting into some of the importance of motivation and taking action. Also, where does that motivation come from? So, if you're interested, that sounds interesting. Maybe move on back to that last episode and check it out. But yeah, we'll see if we build on that. And Serge and I were doing some political chit chat prior to that. We'll probably know the results of the U.S. election by the time this comes out. But we were getting a little bit into that in the break, so we'll see if Kris has anything to say. I gotta stop saying that because we know he's gonna have something to say about something. So we need a new saying, Serge.
Yeah, how he says it and what he says is something else.
Yeah, there we
Anyways,
go.
I will just move aside, as it were.
All right, all right. Thanks, Serge.
Now we trust that you are comfortable
Yes, thank you.
and we thank you for your consideration.
Aw, thanks so much, Kris.
The previous discussion on, again, motivation is perhaps more important than first meets the eye, simply because your entire lives are based on a certain form of a desired outcome. You took birth because you wanted a human experience. The human experience is part of the desired outcome. This is what you were aiming for. As you develop that, then all sorts of opportunities and possibilities bloomed, dozens of them, all along your life path. You desired to use the body to move. So you began to flay your arms and legs, eventually, perhaps even crawling on all fours, eventually standing up, taking your first steps, all because you were drawn by a powerful motivator, the action within the cells of your body, driven by the need to be and exist. And in this particular dimension, this is how it occurs for your species. So you began to crawl, you began to walk, you began to run. Then, as happens, you hit the terrible twos and you tested out everything just to make certain that you had a certain understanding of the fundamentals of your childlike existence. You pushed boundaries. You pushed everything. You grew up. You began to be curious about the world outside of your immediate familial environment. That opened up worlds of opportunities. Perhaps as a child, you saw the stars in the night sky. You saw birds fly in the daylight. You saw the sun. You saw the clouds. You saw other people and human beings. You became curious. What is this place? All of these are the results of a motivator. The motivation being your desire to be, to exist, to express yourself. How you did that depended on your circumstances and your conditions. You became curious intellectually at a certain time. So you wanted to read, you wanted to find out about what other people's view of that world that you were in was like. You began to question the authority of your parents and your family unit. You wanted to know more about the world. You began the educational track. Along the way, you lost your genius. You were made to conform. But underneath that layer of conformity, and this applies to all human beings, underneath that layer of conformity, there is still a desire to understand the world that you create by being yourself. This is still a motivation. This is still the motivator. So all the other motivations are secondary. The first motivation is to be and to interpret that in the terms of your physical existence, because you always are. But what and who are you within the parameters of space and time is a different issue. And it requires a level genius or genius level creativity to explore that, to understand how you create conditions and circumstances, what your role is in your life, not what the role of this organization or that person is in your life. What is your role in your life? Where do you stand as far as you are concerned in the grand scheme of things? This is what everyone ponders at one point or another until that quest for wisdom is made to conform to the general populace. But again, underneath that is the one who pushes the boundaries, who wants to no longer be like everyone else, but wants to stand out and be the black sheep. Not everyone can be a black sheep, but those who recognize that are truly very good black sheep, and they are their own shepherd, whilst everyone else needs to be shepherded into this and that all the time. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, and I could see some of the connections to our political discussion over the break there.
Mm. We're just keeping it very light. The main thing is that inside each of you is still a genius level creator. You still have the ability to understand how your feeling tones, your emotions, your thoughts, your ideas, the whole of you is the creation. That is important to distinguish. The whole of you is the creation.
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, oh, thank you, um, that we can break through, break out of that conformity, and when we
He has
break it,
an opinion.
he does have an opinion, but we can break through the conformity, and it sounds like we can then restore that genius level creativity when we get
Indeed,
out of
it
that.
does require. You see, on the one hand, you are more or less brainwashed into conformity. Now you have to actually wash the brain or the conformity out of your brain, so to speak, by recognizing that no one else is responsible for your life but yourself. No one can make you feel anything that you do not acquiesce to feel. That you are the creator of your events, conditions, and circumstances, including who you are. You're not only and entirely the result of what your family made you feel at any given time and point. You can change certain ways that you feel if you do not like it. You can change who you have become to conform to the family ideal by becoming yourself, whatever you think that may mean. This is the power that is still within you. Some people may feel that at a certain age, there may be no sense anymore in reclaiming one's authenticity. But we can tell you that yes, there is. One of the main issues is to end the cycle of victimhood. Nobody is responsible for how you feel, not even the immigrants. You choose to feel a particular way and you will blame someone for it. That is as far as our political commentary is for tonight.
That's fair.
But we do think it was a very nice way to say it.
Well, in the topic of scapegoating, it could be that one thing, or if you want to blame something, everybody will find something. You know, it does just
Indeed,
move from one
there
thing to
is
the other.
always a plethora of people and situations to blame when you do not want to accept the responsibility for your words and your actions and your own feelings.
Well, I do. I love the genius level. I mean, there is a particular feeling of genius when you really begin to understand how it works. And maybe another word is maybe even be a sense of empowerment, of feeling
Indeed,
power over your situation.
absolutely. This is fulfillment in its most sacred sense. You can never really be a victim of events, conditions, and circumstances or other people unless you decide you want to play that role. This is how powerful you are. And you can abdicate that power, absolutely. And no one is going to fault you for it except yourself. If you don't want to abdicate, you are stuck there. But if you want to abdicate or leave behind the sense of powerlessness and step up to your own authenticity, no one can stop you except yourself, of course. You can reverse course at any time. But if you decide to stay the course, then your authentic self, your authentic nature, your authentically empowered nature or state of being will shine through. Once you recognize that this is so, the level of empowerment is truly astounding when you recognize that you can actually choose how you're going to feel about any particular situation. That is truly empowering. There are more than 7 billion people on the planet. If you, the one person out of this 7 plus billion people, feel that out of all of these individuals, you will feel as if your feelings are hurt because somebody looked at you sideways. There is no power in the universe that can prevent you from doing that except yourself. Does that make some sense to you?
Yeah. Yeah. I want to go back to the sort of the momentum idea of the last, because then if you see that person looking at you sideways and then you see another and you see another or this and that kind of you continue to
Hmm.
focus on that, you can get into states
Yes.
like paranoia or
Yes,
really deep
indeed.
fear. So
And
those
it
sound
is
important.
an interesting conceptualization because the truth of the matter is that you feel that about yourself. You will project it onto others, which only feeds what you're giving yourself. If we tell you, stop thinking of the elephant, what is going on?
Yeah, you see the elephant.
Yes, that is what you will think about until you decide, the hell with the elephant. I'm done with the elephant. I will think of something else. Some people may become obsessive compulsive in that area and keep thinking and seeing the elephant everywhere, as if somehow or other it is following them around. This is the definition of paranoia. It is, in a way, a self-induced situation. But the pattern becomes so ingrained that it has taken a life of its own, and it appears as if there's nothing you can do about it now. The train is off the tracks and there are no brakes, and it is downhill. And all of this stems from unreconciliated emotions and feelings, unprocessed, unacknowledged, suppressed. You then become afraid of feelings. You then become afraid of your own feelings and emotions. Now, the motivation to transform that is also available. It is another state that you might not have tapped into. We said motivation is an inside job. So by shifting your thinking, shifting your thoughts, the focus of your attention to the motivation, to the desire for something different, will occur as long as you go there. If you keep thinking it is not there, you will not see it. This is how important it is. But everything you don't want to see will show up at the door because that's what you're concentrating on. This is why Uncle Seth was quite adamant you get what you concentrate upon. So if you think that you will get peace by not wanting war and violence all the time, what will you get? Not peace. You will only get peace when you think peace, when you act peace, when you are peace. Does that also make sense to you?
Yep, that's making sense. I
So
guess.
if you are wondering why in some, and this is a general question, if you are thinking as to why you are not getting what you want, look at what you are concentrating upon. Some people may say, I want a good job, but they keep thinking of all the bad jobs they've ever had. Don't look for a good job. Look to change your thinking, and it will become part of your repertoire. Do you want to add something? Please feel free.
Well, I was just thinking, say that somebody wants to make a change, but they aren't feeling that internal motivation. They want to move their focus in a new direction. How do we do that? How do
Find
if
something else that interests you. Go out for a walk. If you need to, do some foresting. barefoot on the grass. Make sure it is not a doggy park. Allow your body to make contact with the earth. Look to the clouds. Look to the left and to the right, not just up and down. Look to the left and look to the right, often, but not so that you get dizzy, just enough to completely alter the brainwave patterns. Breathe deeply and allow your breath to bring you joy, resplendence into just being you. Leave your worries away. It works. You have to do it though. You can't wish think that. You have to go there and do it. If you need, go forest bathing, go walk amongst the trees. Whether it is in a national park or a little park down the street where there are trees, just absorb the atmosphere, those negative ions. Allow them to course through your being, especially when you ground with your bare feet to the earth. That will create a different electrical charge. It will change your brainwave patterns. You will start feeling those lovely endorphins, those nice feel good chemicals, not the ones you smoke, the ones that are naturally occurring. And you will see rather quickly that your frame of mind has changed. You might even wonder what could have ticked you off so much. What could have brought you down? You are such in a nice state now. Very, very simple, but it has to be done. Like anything else, if you want to eat, you have to cook your own food, or at least get someone to cook it for you. And no one can digest it for you either. That was not a trick question.
We haven't figured that one out yet. And as you're talking about that whole process, it reminds me of the concept of pressing the reset button, that you just reset
Indeed.
and go from there.
Set and reset as often as you need to get what you want out of life. And we have mentioned this before, we will mention it again. Understand the difference between what you want in life and what you need. That will bring you closer to your goals. And with that, we thank you for your lovely consideration. And we return Joseph to you.
All right, Kris, thanks so much. Great episode.